I appreciate this opportunity to discuss a priority that I have personally worked on for years, which is protecting Americans' privacy. Data is the oil of the 21st century. It fuels all of the services, the apps, the websites that improve our quality of life and make America competitive in today's digital world. While the data-driven economy has undoubtedly revolutionized the way we communicate and conduct commerce, too often these changes have come with an unexpected cost to users. Many data-driven services use their customers' personal information as a commodity, collecting, using, sharing, and selling individuals' personal information without users' knowledge or permission. Consumers are frequently unaware of these practices and have no reasonable means to stop companies from mining and using their personal data for unwanted, intrusive purposes. Last month, this committee listened to the perspective of a few major industry players, and I was pleased to hear Apple, Google, Twitter, Amazon, Charter, and AT&T finally agreed that Congress must enact a comprehensive federal privacy law. But we shouldn't have any delusions about why those companies and their peers are all of a sudden advocating for a federal privacy law. It is clear that they are coming to the table because they now have to comply with a European privacy law, and even more motivating, they will soon have to comply with a California privacy law. Their hope is that Congress will pass a comprehensive federal privacy bill that preempts California and perhaps other more burdensome future state laws. But before we even begin to have a conversation about preemption, we need to agree on a strong set of standards that give Americans true privacy protections. Today's hearing is critical because we have the opportunity to hear from experts in consumer privacy about what that strong set of standards should look like. Our goal throughout the process must be to give Americans meaningful control over their personal information while maintaining a thriving, competitive data ecosystem in which innovators and entrepreneurs can continue to develop and flourish. That is what we are here today to discuss. I am supportive of strong federal privacy legislation. That bill should begin with the principle of knowledge, notice, and know. Consumers need knowledge that their data is being used or shared, notice when their data is compromised, and the ability to say no to entities that want their personal information. These are the principles of my Consent Act, which I have introduced. But there is nothing more than just merely the starting point on this discussion, because notice and choice are simply not enough. Transparency and opt-in consent are just the beginning. An American privacy law should also include limits on how companies can use consumers' information. The bill should prohibit companies from giving financial incentives to users in exchange for their personal information. Privacy must not become a luxury good that only the fortunate can afford. The bill should ban take-it-or-leave-it offerings in which a company requires a consumer to forfeit their privacy in order to use a product. Companies should not be able to coerce Americans into providing their personal information by threatening to deprive them of a service. This Privacy Bill of Rights should include the rights to access, correct, and delete your personal information that is held by a private company. The legislation should stop companies from collecting vast troves of users' personal information that have nothing to do with the company's offering. They should only collect that which is absolutely necessary to carry out the service. The bill should require companies to keep their customers' private information safe and secure, and we must make that daily data breaches a thing of the past. And the legislation should include special protections for children and teens who have a right to grow up and make mistakes without being monitored at every turn. Most notably, we need to extend special protections to 13, 14, and 15-year-olds who today enjoy no protections whatsoever. And finally, we must give the federal government and states strong enforcement powers. And the federal agency in charge of executing the law, whether it's the Federal Trade Commission or another existing agency or a new entity, must have robust rulemaking authority in order to ensure the rules keep pace with changing technologies. I'm confident that we can write that bill in a bipartisan way. We can give Americans their long overdue Privacy Bill of Rights and still allow our economy to thrive. And I am willing, and I think all members are willing, to work together to write this bill in a bipartisan way. I'm looking forward to receiving the guidance from the witnesses today. I thank you all for being here, and I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.